So welcome, guys. Thank you for being part of the mock trial panel. I appreciate you giving your time. Although I know that you'd love to rehash mock trials, so this is not a strain for you. I want people to know who they are hearing from today. So we're going to start here, and Sarah, you introduce yourself. And what I want you to tell folks is, when did you participate in mock trial?
My name is Sarah Cornelius, and I participated in mock trial in the spring of 2015.
My name is Sarah Wilson, and I participated in mock trial in the spring of 2015 as well.
My name is Noah, and I participated in mock trial in the spring of 2014.
My name is Callie Cornelius, and I participated in mock trial in the spring of 2014. I had heard a grand total of nothing, except that it was a trial.
Okay.
So I was ecstatic.
So you were excited about pretending to be a lawyer or
Yes.
whatever. Okay. So you weren't worried about it, Callie?
A little bit.
Okay.
But at that point, I didn't know that it was such a big deal.
Okay.
So I didn't know enough to be nervous about it.
I had heard a lot about it because my brother and my best friend participated in it the 2 years before. So I was nervous about it because of just getting in front of people, but also I was extremely excited to be able to perform in front of a court and see what I could learn from it.
I have to say, I didn't hear that much about it, but what I did hear about it made me worry because it seemed like a big, elephant to chew.
Sure.
So I would say that was probably one of the things I was regretting in Challenge B.
I'd heard a lot about it because my sister was in it the year before.
Mm-hmm.
But I hadn't thought a whole lot about doing it myself. But I was really nervous because I don't like public speaking.
I was on and off about it. It was not my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I would have to say I wasn't terrible at it, but I wasn't great at it either.
Right.
So.
You weren't nervous about it, but didn't think that was your strongest suit.
Yeah.
Callie, what did you think?
I was nervous until I did it. And while I was doing it, I loved it.
Noah, how did you use the skills of research while you got ready to do mock trial?
Well, there's research learning on how to put the information together in a suitable format.
Okay.
For questioning, for being a witness. But there was I also had to do research to know everybody's role with research inside the mock trial notebook. And that, the knowledge of it helped in the long run.
Yeah.
Even knowing parts that I did not have, people I didn't have to interview, or people, on the opposing team, because I know how I could cater the questions to either throw off the other team or make them sound more appealing.
When I was a witness, I had to memorize the details in the witness statement as well as the answers to my direct questions. On the other side of the court, I played the role of an attorney, and I had to memorize the court rules and how to play that out, and as well as who I was crossing, how to throw them off and catch them in misstatements.
Well, we were being asked questions, and so we had to know how to respond in a way that didn't hurt our team.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a witness for defense. When she was asking me questions, some of them I had to answer without knowing that weren't from the book.
Right.
So you have to know some of the answers. You have to make up some of the answers, and that takes public speaking skills.
Evidence can always be manipulated through words. So as I played the closing prosecution attorney. So in my closing statement, I had to make everything that both my team and the opposite defense team said sound like the case was really already closed and she had already been condemned. So it's really all in how you ask the questions, and for the witnesses, how you respond to the questions, and for the attorneys, how you open the case for the opening attorney, and how you close it for the closing attorney.
I feel like I grew in my presenting skills and that confidence.
One I would have to say would be thinking on your feet, because the defense or prosecution could throw at you something that you would never expect. Like Sarah Wilson was saying, you might know your part in your sleep, but they might throw you a curveball that you've never even heard of before. So you just gotta be ready for all the things that might happen. In Challenge 1 and 2, there's also debates, and I can easily tell that my debating skills have been increased by this mock trial.
I love to argue. Noah can attest to that. Poor Noah. But I'm not very good at graciously or mercifully arguing. And in front of a judge, you have to.
I think one of the most valuable life lessons I learned was how easy it is to manipulate facts and make them look like they're true, when really you're only stating half of the facts, and that the absence of evidence isn't the evidence of absence. Each side is trying to win their case, and that's how it is in life. And people tend to leave out things that are against their case instead of addressing them and confronting them. And instead they say positive things about their case that may not be completely true.
Before I went into mock trial, or before I actually did mock trial, I knew just about nothing about the court, like what happened in a courtroom. I didn't understand watching a court scene. And a few weeks before we had the mock trial, my dad had jury duty. And so we sat down that night and we discussed so much about what happened, what played out. So I think what I learned was just the full aspect of a court and how to understand watching one and how the witnesses and the attorneys play their part, do their job.
One thing I didn't think about beforehand was that there's a lot more that goes on. Instead of just standing in a courtroom defending a case, you have a lot more preparation that goes on beforehand.
I learned how much power attorneys hold.
Oh, okay.
Because in a case where the evidence could really go either way, particularly in a murder case, which is what we worked, the accused's life is literally in the balance of how the defense argues and how the prosecution argues.
Well, I probably would have to say that the biggest challenge would be just memorizing it all, because that is a lot of stuff to memorize. And I mean, if you don't memorize it, you're not going to do very well in mock trial. So that's probably my biggest challenge in that.
Knowing how much I could memorize and how to present what I'd memorized.
Doing as much as I can to memorize it and still having to rely on other people to memorize their parts was extremely nerve-wracking to me, because I am someone who wants to take on all the responsibility and get it all done and just have it all done. But having to rely on all my other teammates to get their part done and being able to get my part done on top of that.
Speaking slowly and clearly.
I mean, mentally just thinking that you might be doing more work than everyone else, even though that sometimes not the case. Sometimes is, but rarely is the case. So,
working out schedules.
Okay.
That is a chore and difficult to do because, so many people have so much on their plate and are so busy. And we never rarely got around to actually getting together and sitting down and discussing the case. So the week before, the mom of one of the guys in our class was like, okay, everybody's coming over every day this week, and we're going to do it.
It would probably be having to rely on other people, like I said before. And also having someone that is leading us, like our tutor. Our tutor was new and she didn't know quite what we were doing. So Callie, as one of the older students, stepped in and helped us. And having that was so much more helpful than I would have ever imagined, because the whole team needed more confidence in what we were doing.
Being prepared as a class and making sure that everybody's prepared, when sometimes it's easier to just take care of what you have.
Lots of prayer.
Okay.
And it helps to have a wonderful class and wonderful friends who are going through the same thing and who support you and encourage you. Really just believing in yourself, because it's hard, but it's not that hard.
Always be committed to it. Don't say, oh, well, this week I don't really have to work on it because I did a lot of it last week. I mean, you just gotta keep in there, keep trying to memorize it. Just always continue doing the work with it and be committed, because you don't want to be the reason why everything is fallen to bits in the whole trial. So
I would say make sure you read through all of what you're supposed to do and doing every step of the way, making sure you have it all done, because even if no one else is doing that, you can step up and go, okay, this is what's going on, this is what has to happen. And once you get up there, you will feel confident and you will be so happy in the end that you did it, because you will by your attitude and by being able to present yourself, you will encourage other people to do that as well in your class. And just, you will spend nights completely stressed out. So that's okay. Being stressed, you can just leave it to the Lord, and you will find confidence in that, even if you don't think you're confident.
Even though it's scary when you first start it, it's not as scary as it sounds. And to not forget that the truth is objective, even though some people may think that it's subjective.
Well, someone in our mock trial team backed out on us, so probably the thing that I remember most is having to learn a part in 3 days. So, I didn't really look over the Lee Porter stuff as much as I would have if I was that character a few weeks beforehand. So, just knowing that, not putting off something for the final weeks is basically going to be the exact same thing as having to memorize it in the last few days. So
the second trial we did, Noah, Ashton, and I were all on the prosecution team only. And so we were sitting on the sidelines and watching our defense team. And the other team's closing prosecution attorney stood up at the end and began his speech. And it was a great speech. I don't say this as a criticism at all. It was really a great speech. But he read it so slowly and with so much emphasis, which Ashton and I laugh about anyway. And poor Adam's sitting in the middle, and Ashton and I just look over at each other and then almost died laughing. And poor Adam is just sitting there mortified, oh, we're gonna get kicked out.
There's 2 points that kind of both stick out. One of which was after the trial, the other team, we only did one trial, and after that, the other team was not very friendly, and they weren't very nice in a way. And the one guy on the team played lead porter as well as I did on their team, and he came up to me and just congratulated me and was like, "You did wonderful," and that was so encouraging. Just that the other team came up to me and was like, "You did good." So just having that characteristic of being friendly and congratulating the other people. And the other one was just my teammate was struggling and just having to stand up in the court and say to the judge, "Can you slow down?" Because he's having trouble. It's just being able to be a voice.
Well, I appreciate you guys sharing the benefit of your vast wisdom and experience with mock trial, and I suspect that you have helped lots of parents and prospective Challenge B students get a handle on why mock trial is such a good, helpful pursuit and what they could expect to get out of it themselves. Thank you for helping us.